Title: Midnight at the Abandoned Pump. As the clock struck midnight, I found myself on a desolate stretch of road, surrounded by darkness and the haunting silhouette of an abandoned gas station. Its windows were shattered, and the faded sign groaned in the wind. A sense of foreboding settled over me, but my fuel gauge was perilously close to empty, leaving me with no choice but to pull in. As I stepped out of my car, the night air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. I hesitated, glancing around, but there was no sign of life, no comforting hum of electricity, just the cold, uncaring gaze of the solitary streetlight overhead. I approached the rusted pump cautiously, my hand trembling as I fumbled for my wallet. That's when I heard it, an unsettling, guttural muttering echoing from the shadows behind the station. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Out of the darkness emerged a figure, hunched and ragged, with wild eyes that gleamed with a sinister intensity. It was a homeless man, his tattered clothes barely more than rags, and his face twisted into a manic grin. He held a weathered gas can in one hand, its contents sloshing ominously. "Evenin', stranger," he rasped, his voice a discordant symphony of madness. I nodded, my throat dry. "Just need some gas, that's all." He chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Gas, eh? Well, we got plenty of that, but it'll cost you more than you reckon." Unease settled in the pit of my stomach as he approached, the stench of stale alcohol and decay clinging to him. I handed him a few bills, desperate to escape this unsettling encounter. As he poured the gas, he spoke in disjointed sentences, a jumble of words that made little sense. He muttered about forgotten promises and the unforgiving night, his words painting a picture of a mind teetering on the edge of sanity. With my tank filled, I thanked him hastily and turned to leave. But as I walked back to my car, a sudden sense of dread washed over me. I glanced back, only to find the homeless man's crazed eyes locked onto mine, his grin widening into something far more sinister. I jumped into my car, heart pounding, and peeled out of the gas station, leaving the deranged figure behind. As I sped away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just brushed against something far darker than I could comprehend. A horrifying encounter on a forgotten stretch of road, with a man whose madness seemed to seep into the very air around him. To this day, the memory of that gas station and the crazed homeless man haunts my dreams, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying horrors can be found in the most unexpected places. Title: The Silent Stalker. Late one night, as I drove through a remote stretch of highway, my fuel gauge danced perilously close to empty. I scanned the desolate landscape for the familiar beacon of a gas station, and at last, I spotted one, its neon sign flickering like a lighthouse in the darkness. I pulled into the station, relieved to find it empty, except for a lone attendant behind the counter. The middle-aged man with graying hair looked up as I entered, his eyes glazed over with indifference. The place was eerily quiet, the only sound the low hum of fluorescent lights. I grabbed a snack and headed to the counter to pay. The attendant barely acknowledged my presence, taking my money with a mechanical hand and handing me my change. As I left, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The sense of unease only deepened as I filled up my tank. Glancing around, I saw a man standing in the shadows, partly concealed by the station's overhang. He was tall and thin, dressed in a tattered overcoat, and he was watching me with a cold, unrelenting stare. I told myself it was just a coincidence, that he was probably waiting for a ride or shelter from the rain that had just started. Still, I couldn't help but feel a chill run down my spine. I decided to grab a coffee and take a break inside the gas station, hoping the man would move on. But when I looked out the window, he was still there, his gaze unwavering. Nervousness gnawed at me, and I decided it was time to leave. I made my way back to the counter to pay for the coffee. The attendant, however, had a haunted look in his eyes, and in a trembling voice he whispered, "You need to be careful. He's been following you." My heart raced as I made my way to the exit, glancing outside once more. The man had moved closer, his expression now contorted into a malevolent grin. Panic surged through me as I realized that I was being stalked. Without a moment's hesitation, I rushed to my car, slammed the door shut, and sped away from the gas station. As I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw the man's dark silhouette disappearing into the distance. The gas station horror was a chilling reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places, and the silent stalker was a presence I would never forget. Title: The Night of the Vanishing. It was a stormy night, the rain pounding against my windshield as I navigated the dark, winding roads. The gas gauge dipped perilously low, and just when desperation was setting in, I spotted the faint glow of a gas station on the horizon. As I pulled in, a sense of relief washed over me. The station seemed empty, the only sign of life, a flickering neon sign that cast eerie shadows on the pavement. I stepped out of my car, the rain soaking through my clothes. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh, sterile glow. The attendant behind the counter barely looked up from his magazine, lost in his own world. I grabbed a few essentials and headed to the counter to pay. Just as I was about to hand over my money, the door chimed open, and two figures entered. They were shrouded in darkness, their faces obscured by hooded jackets. My heart quickened, a sense of unease settling over me. They approached the counter, their movements deliberate. The taller of the two, his eyes hidden behind sunglasses, pulled out a knife, glinting menacingly under the harsh lights. My blood ran cold. "Empty the register," he ordered, his voice low and chilling. The attendant's hands trembled as he fumbled with the cash drawer. The second figure, smaller but no less intimidating, kept watch, eyes darting around the store, never lingering on any one spot for too long. As I stood frozen, I felt a rush of adrenaline. This was my chance. I slowly backed away, inching towards the aisle, praying they wouldn't notice me. Just as I reached the end, a thunderous crash echoed through the station. The smaller figure had knocked over a display of snacks, sending chips and candy scattering across the floor. The attendant seized the opportunity and hit the silent alarm. In the chaos, I bolted for the door, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the robbers shouting in frustration behind me. The rain battered against my face as I sprinted towards my car, never looking back. I sped away from the gas station, the image of the knife glinting in the harsh light burning into my memory. The night of the vanishing was a chilling reminder that danger could strike in the most unexpected places, and the echoes of that night would forever haunt my thoughts. Title: The Silent Witness. The night was shrouded in an unsettling stillness, broken only by the low hum of my engine as I approached the lone gas station on the desolate stretch of highway. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting an eerie glow that seemed to repel the encroaching darkness. I pulled into the station, a sense of trepidation settling in my chest. The air was heavy with an inexplicable unease, and a knot formed in my stomach. I stepped out of my car, the gravel crunching beneath my feet, and made my way to the pumps. As I filled my tank, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was as if the very air held its breath, waiting for something to happen. I glanced around, but there was no one in sight, just the empty expanse of the night. That's when I heard it, a faint, distant sound, like the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. It seemed to be coming from behind the station, hidden from view. Curiosity and dread warred within me, but I couldn't ignore the pull to investigate. Stepping cautiously around the building, I was met with a sight that would forever be seared into my memory. There, lying on the cold ground, was a body. Its eyes stared blankly at the sky, frozen in a twisted rictus of horror. My breath caught in my throat, and a wave of nausea washed over me. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest. The air grew colder, and the once still night seemed to close in around me. As panic set in, I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed 911. The operator's voice was a lifeline in the darkness, assuring me that help was on the way. But even as I spoke, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the lifeless form before me. Minutes felt like hours as I waited, the silence broken only by the distant wail of approaching sirens. When the police arrived, their flashing lights cutting through the night, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. They examined the scene, their faces grim. The questions came, their voices a distant echo in my ears. Had I seen anything? Did I know the person? But all I could do was stare, the image of the lifeless body etched into my mind. As they worked, I stepped back, my legs feeling like lead. The gas station, once a beacon of safety, now seemed like a sinister trap. The night of the silent witness would forever be etched into my memory, a chilling reminder that darkness could lurk even in the most mundane places.